I have something that I'd like you to explain.
Okay.
Can you help us to understand the fact that we're all children of God? Because I know a lot of people don't believe that we are children of God until we get saved.
Right. So, what way can we come at that?
You know, they use the scripture that says, for those who have received him,
Right,
to
right,
them he gave the right to become children of God.
right. So, what John actually says there is that if you read in the verses before that, he says that Jesus is the light that came into the world that lights every human being. Meaning, there's a truth that came in Jesus that is true about all people. Okay? And that truth is that all of them have come from God. Meaning, their genesis is from God. And if you read in the Gospels, the lineage draws all the way back to Adam, and it says, Adam, the son of God. Adam was called the child of God. Everybody who come through Adam also come from God. They are the children of God. The problem isn't whether we are a child or not. The problem is receiving strength to appear as a child. Okay? So we're not trying to become something we're not. We're trying to appear as who and what we actually are. All right? So John is telling them about where they're going to find the ability to be justified. To be justified would be to appear as what God called you.
Sure.
Right? God has called you as children. In order to be justified, you have to receive strength to appear as his child. The only way you can receive strength to appear as his child is by his spirit dwelling in you, which is by us believing on Jesus. So that's the only way we can appear as a child. So what John is actually saying, when you look at it in the Greek, he says, well, I'll just read it so I get the verses before, right? And this is, I should probably go back and just translate John 1 for everybody. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory. The glory is the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bare witness of him and cried, saying, This was he of whom I spake. He that cometh after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. And of his fullness have all we received, and grace for grace. He's full of grace, and from that grace have we all received. For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. No man has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. And so John is talking about there that he's comparing the law of Moses with Jesus. And he's saying the law of Moses can't strengthen you to appear as a child of God. Only the grace that came from Jesus can strengthen you to appear as a child of God. And so when he gets down to, what verse is it? Let's see. Verse 12 of chapter 1 says, But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. Okay, so what it would really say is, but as many as grabbed a hold of him as what? As the truth about their life. What did Jesus say? He came and called God Father. As the Son of Man, he called God Father. Now, what is he trying to tell all the people about God? God is also their Father, right? The only way they could receive strength to call God Father is if they believed Jesus was the truth about their life also.
Sure.
So to all those who received him, meaning Jesus came full of a truth. To all those that grabbed the hold of that truth that he revealed, all those people would receive strength to appear in history as the sons and daughters of God. That's what the word becometh means. It means to appear in history. It doesn't equate to something that isn't becoming what it's not.
Right.
It's talking about appearing in history. For instance, in Genesis, it uses the same word. And God uttered, let there be light, and it says, and light appeared in history. Now, did the light become light when it appeared, or was it always light?
It's always light.
It was always light.
Always light.
But then it appeared in history. Okay? So mankind has always been the children of God. All right? But mankind needs to be strengthened in order to appear as the children of God. The way God strengthens them is by sending a truth in Jesus. That truth is what? What did Paul say? When it pleased God to reveal his son in me. Do you know when it pleased God to reveal his son in Paul? Paul was an unbeliever.
Yeah.
And so Paul is saying, when it pleased God to come and reveal something that was true about me, and the thing he used to reveal what was true about me is Jesus. When it pleased God to reveal his son in me, and I beheld the son as if he was the only truth about my life, I received strength from him to appear in history as the Son of God. Right? You guys follow that?
Yep.
So what God did in Jesus is he came to reveal something to be true about all people and the life and fellowship he created them for in the Godhead. The thing he used to reveal what was true is Jesus. Now, to all those who will receive that truth, there has to first be something that's true.
Sure.
To all those that will grab a hold of that truth and make use of it as their own, they're going to receive strength from grace to appear as the sons and daughters of God. Right?
Yep.
Does that make any sense?
This is great. Thank you.
What people get confused about is the state of a person and the identity of a person. And so what happens is there's scriptures in the Bible that are talking about the state that a person is in order to reveal to them that the life they possess hasn't come from God. Okay? And so when we don't understand the difference between the state of a person and the identity of a person, we can confuse those scriptures. So when Jesus told the Pharisees, you are of your father the devil, he wasn't saying the devil created them. He wasn't saying they weren't cut from the rock. Isaiah said, you've forgotten the rock from which you were hewn. He doesn't say, well, you weren't cut from the rock, but if you do this, then you can become cut from the rock. He says, you're actually cut from this rock, but you've forgotten that you were hewn from that rock, and now you're busy acting as if you've been hewn from this rock over here. And so when Jesus called the Pharisees, said, you are of your father the devil, he wasn't talking about their identity or the rock that they were hewn from. He was talking about the life that they were partaking in. They were in a state called death. Who else was in a state called death? The serpent. Right? And so he was telling them, the life that you're a possessor of right now, it has not come from God. It's come from the serpent. And so that's what he's talking about there. He's not telling them that they're not the offspring of God. Everybody is the offspring of God. Paul stood on Mars Hill and told all of the unbelievers, the pagans there, that they were the offspring of God. How could he say that?
It's their identity.
Because he's speaking to identity. But then he also exhorts them to listen. In the past, God has winked at our ignorance. Meaning he saw we were carnal and sold under sin and saw that we couldn't see the truth. But he's now sent his son in the flesh. And no longer is he winking at the times of ignorance. Right? He's come and revealed the truth. Now believe on the resurrection in order to have life. Does that make any sense? So listen, if a person is in the state of death, that doesn't mean they're not the child of God. But that means the life that they're a possessor of hasn't come from God. Their life hasn't been born from above. So in the sense of what the Bible calls being a son or a daughter, a mature child of God, they are not. Paul makes a distinct language difference when he talks about a son and a daughter. That speaks of a person who now, they're not just cut from the rock, the life they possess has come from the rock. Okay? An immature child would be a person who is the offspring of God, like those guys on Mars Hill, but the life they possess hasn't come from above yet. The life they possess is still born from beneath. And so if I wanted to talk to a guy that was like a Pharisee, who was in a state of death, I would speak to him like Jesus did. He's denying grace. He's rejecting the Spirit of grace to the degree that he's condemning himself to eternal death. I'm going to now do something to shake that guy up. And you know what I'm going to do to shake him up? Just what Jesus did to them. You're not. Your father's the devil. Meaning the one that is the life that you possess, it's been born from the devil and not from God. Big difference.
Yes, huge difference.
You guys see the state of a person.
Mhm.
So if I'm a child of God, but I haven't believed on God for life, or I haven't believed the testimony He's given in His Son, it really doesn't matter if I'm a child or not, because I'm going to die.
Yes.
I'm never going to appear as who and what I am,
Right. Yeah.
because I'm in a state of death.
That's the logical conclusion we never draw.
Right.
Yeah.
So, when Luke goes through his gospel, he still calls Adam the Son of God. But Adam was in a state of death, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, how come Adam didn't stop being the Son of God? Why did Adam stop being a child of God?
It's identity.
He was in a state of death.
Yeah.
So the church could do real good if we would understand the difference between the state of a person
Yes.
and the identity of a person. They're in a state of death if they haven't believed on the Son.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean now they're not a sheep. It doesn't say that they're not a sheep, and then if I can find them, then they'll become a sheep. It says the sheep is lost. It's still a sheep.
Right. Yeah.
It's still a sheep. It didn't stop being a sheep.
Right.
The sheep is lost.
Yes. Yes. Very good.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I have a question.